I bought this absolutely beat up Mini Cooper with tons of problems, and I'm gonna fix it as cheaply and quickly as possible. Then I'm gonna try and sell it for a huge profit. Let's take a look at it. It's a 2014 Mini Cooper Countryman with 118,000 miles, but it does have some major problems. Also, I'll break down exactly how much I bought it for, what I sold it for, and my total profit later on. The car does have a few minor issues, like a broken gas cap, it was hit from the back, so the bumper and taillight are cracked, and there's some dents around the body. But it has new tires and recent maintenance records, which is a bonus. On the inside, it's not perfect either. The shifter boot is broken, and it's pretty dirty. But it is a one-owner car, which is quite cool. There are also some other small issues like scratch paint, faded trim, and the brake lights on. But there's one major issue that really has me worried. The trans is slipping. Anyways, my name's Lucky7 and I flip cars full time. We're gonna fix this car up, but first, let's get it washed. They started by vacuuming it, then pressure washed it before sending it through the car wash. The reason I didn't want to wash this car myself is because we're trying to do this as fast as possible. And it was actually free. Once it was out, they wiped any water streaks off and then cleaned the wheels. Next, they wiped down the whole interior, applied a tire shine, and finished off the interior with a protectant. They did a really good job, but before I show you, let's restore this faded trim while I go over how I ended up with the car. I wanted to try something I've never done before, which is trying to do as little work as I can on the car while still making a great profit. But that requires some weird ways of doing things. So with this in mind, I set out to find a car. I found this one on Facebook Marketplace posted at $3,250. I was instantly interested as that's about half of what it's actually worth. So I talked to the seller and he let me know the car's problems. I headed over, inspected it, and since it was in worse condition than I originally thought, I offered $1,900. He said no, so I left. About 1 minute later, I found his car key in my pocket, so I drove back and gave it to him. He let me know he'd take $2,200. I said no and left again. About 2 minutes later, I get a text saying, "I'll do $1,900. I want my wife off my back." So, third time really is the charm, and I bought the car. With the trim looking great, let's touch up some spots, then we'll get to working on the transmission. Using a paint pen is great to hide chipping paint. With that looking better, let's quickly fix the gas cap with some super glue as its clips broke off. I'd normally buy a new one, but we're trying to flip this car fast. To make the interior look nicer, I sprayed some carpet dye on the stains. Then used the paint pen on the seat rip to make it less visible. Now you may be wondering how we're gonna fix this slipping transmission in a cheap and quick way. Honestly, I don't know. Here's what happens when I drive it. As you can see, it's having a little trouble, it stalls a bit, and then shifts into gear. Let's try putting in some new fluid and see if that solves our problem. If it doesn't, that's gonna make things a lot harder for us. So I started by removing parts of the air intake so I can reach the transmission fill bolt, as it's in a tight spot and it's gonna be hard to get a wrench on it. I'm loosening the fill hole bolt on the transmission before draining the fluid, because if I can't get the fill bolt loose, I won't have any way to refill it. Now with that out of the way, you can see the bolt we need to loosen way down there. With an extension and a socket joint, I was able to reach it. So I loosened the trans bolt. Now that we know it's loose, we can get to draining the fluid. I started by jacking the car and got under to remove the trans bolt, which is that one right there. Even with fluid in my eyes, I could tell something was wrong. Barely any fluid came out, but actually nothing's wrong. Let me explain. So the transmission pan looks like this. When I remove the bolt, the fluid drops to the top of this tube. So to get more fluid out, all I have to do is remove the tube so more drains out. And that's exactly what I did. Now that it's all drained out, I installed the tube back, but not the bolt. That's because when filling it, the system reaches the correct fluid level once it starts pouring out the top of the tube to make sure it's not overfilled. So I continue filling it until it drips out. Then the drain bolt can go back on. Let's get going. I put a hose in the fill hole, and I'm using a pump to get fluid all the way down into the opening. I really hope this fixes the transmission problem, because if it doesn't, it's gonna need a new transmission. I did this for about 30 minutes until it finally started dripping out, so I put the drain bolt back on. Next, I put the other bolt back in, and then I put everything back together. And lowered the car. Let's see how it runs. Okay, it's not idling right. I wonder how it drives. And it's not running well. Actually, worse than before. I expected it to run great, especially because the car's black. Very disappointing. Before we figure out what to do about the transmission, let's get the super glue out again and glue this messed up shift boot together. Of course, if we had more time, I would have bought in a new shift boot, but we don't. With that all done, I wiped the whole car with a ceramic wax to give it a nice shine. I then clean the windows with my one and only love, Sprayway Glass Cleaner. This stuff is the best and leaves no streaks. I decided I'd take some pictures as the car's looking great. I took 15 pictures and made sure to include the new tires and the dents so people know what they're getting. So now, the car looks great, aside from a few dents and a cracked taillight, but it has a brake light on the dash and the transmission's slipping pretty bad. Nobody would want a car that barely drives and has problems, right? Well, that's actually what I'm here to find out. Since we're trying to do this fast, we don't have time to fix all of this. So, let's post it for sale and see if we can make a profit. But before we do that, here's a sexy before and after montage. I wrote up a description mentioning all the good and bad about it. Then I posted it for sale at $3,600, expecting people to negotiate me down. Within 8 hours, I had over 100 messages, and a guy came to check it out at 9 p.m. that night. He was a mechanic, and I let him know everything wrong about it. His friend was Ukrainian, and he was Russian. I'm surprised they got along. They barely spoke English, so this is how our conversation sounded.
Он что говорит No. You're good. You're good? Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, we just sold the Mini Cooper last night, so we're gonna do some calculations and figure out the hourly rate and the total profit. From the time I bought it to the time I sold it was less than 2 days. First, let's get the total amount invested in the car. I spent around $10 on gas, $18 for an Uber to buy the car, $43 on trans fluid, $11 for the fluid pump, and $5 for any products that I used. That comes out to a total of only $87 spent. But we also need to know how long it took to do everything. From leaving my home to getting back with the car was 60 minutes, while washing the car only took 30 minutes, and restoring the trim took about 15 minutes. Then fixing the gas cap, dyeing the carpets, and touching up the paint each took about 5 minutes. The transmission fluid took quite a while at 90 minutes, and to sell the car took about 60 minutes. We'll also add 30 minutes for anything I might have missed. That adds up to 5 hours of work. So, to figure out the total profit, we need the sale price of the car, which I sold for $3,000. Then we'll subtract the cost of $1,900 for the car and $87 to fix it. That makes our total profit $1,013. But what really matters is the hourly rate, which comes out to $202 an hour. That's a 51% return on investment. But I bought another car recently and things went in a totally different direction. I had some problems I didn't expect, but it ended with a huge reward. So check out this video to see what happened. As always, I'm wishing you a lucky day.